Hello, we're back again. It's Throwback Thursday. And today I want to talk to you about from the 1st of March 2017 to the 1st of March 2018 in the life of Candu Equine, really, and me. I was going to really talk to you about my PhD project and where it is, what it's about, why I'm doing it, and that sort of thing. The reason is today I had a call from the university, and apparently this was an interview to say that my first year probation is over. Well, I didn't know I was on probation, so that's just as well. I got through that, so that's good. And they, of course, these are admin people, I think, don't know what my project is or anything. So I did have the opportunity to explain it to them. And I thought, well, I'm on a roll now. I shall explain it to you as well. So in the comments, so in the blurb about the Throwback Thursday, just under the little icons there, you'll see a link to my PhD project. And it's ebark.com, e-barq.com. And it's a survey. It's a survey all about your horse. So I really encourage you to go and take the survey. What the EBARQ stands for is the Equine Behaviour Assessment and Research Questionnaire. So at the moment, it's about, don't die, it's about 250 questions long. So it's really long, really involved. But we're gathering tons of information. What we need to do, and I'll talk to you about this in a minute, is make it a little bit shorter. So eBark, if you have a look at that page, it explains how it was set up and why it was set up. What it's doing, it's going to gather information on how we manage and train our horses and what the resulting behaviour is, so that we can see if we can change the way we manage, does the behaviour improve? Because we all know that behaviour and poor behaviour is a real risk to horse welfare. So the aim of the project is to improve horse welfare. And the way we're going to do this is to find out what people are actually doing with their horses and how that is changing the horse's behaviour, and see if we can actually work out some better ways of doing things and better ways of training and management in order to improve horses' welfare. Because most of you know at the moment, a lot of what we do with horses and what we say about horses and the way we train is really sort of myth and legend. And, you know, it's because Joe Bloggs did it that way and it's really good. And we tend to cherry pick different things out of different methods and stuff. And that might work for a while, but it's not always good for horse welfare. And if you look at something like the concept of respect, and the International Society for Equitation Science last year put out a media release saying that we shouldn't be using these terms of dominance and things with horses, because it's not concepts that they understand, and that it often leads to poor welfare. And I used to use the word respect a little bit, not very much, but just a little bit when I was in Colorado. And I stopped using that completely when I found equitation science, because what I found was it means a different thing to different people. So if I tell you, and you're a 50-year-old woman who's got a lovely warm blood horse, and I tell you about having your horse's respect, you might think that means that the horse leads nicely and doesn't tread on my toe. If I tell somebody else, it might give that horse carte blanche permission to go and chase it around a round pen for 3 hours in order to get respect. And I discuss this a lot in my 100-day email series. So if you haven't got that, go and get that, because I talk about how we should only use terminology that we can actually define and measure. And with words like respect, we can't define or measure that. So back to eBark. That's why we want to know what's going on at the moment and how we can change that to improve horse welfare. So as I say, at the moment it's 250 questions long. So it will take you 20 or 30 minutes. It's not that long. And there's a box on there for your feedback. So I'd love your feedback to know what you think. It's only going to be up there for a few more weeks because this is the pilot study. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that pilot study and we're going to do some statistical analysis on it. There's two things we want to do. First of all, we want to do some factor analysis. So of the 250 questions, we need to work out which of those questions applies to, let's say, your horse's anxiety levels. So there'll be a whole group of questions that apply to anxiety. Let's say we get, that's a big one, isn't it? Anxiety is a big one. So let's say 50 of the questions are relevant to anxiety. And we can probably look at those 50 questions and say, oh, all right, well, these 3, 4, 5, or 6 all correlate. So people that answer high on these scores also answer very high on that. So it might be, you know, if the horse is afraid of dogs, the horse is also afraid of cows or something like that. You know, there might be things like that. So we could remove one of those questions. So the factor analysis is going to allow us to make the survey much shorter and much more user-friendly, but still have good in-depth information in it. The other thing we need to do is to validate it. So we need to make sure that we're actually testing what we think we're testing. So in other words, we need to make sure that, so the same horse, for example, if I got you to test your horse today on Tuesday, if I got you to do the survey on the same horse next week or next month, your answers should be the same. And if I got you and, let's say, your coach or instructor to test the same horse, the answers should be the same. So, you know, that makes sure that we are actually getting what we think we're getting. So if I rate a horse and you rate the same horse that we both know well, and we get completely different answers, there's something really wrong with the question. So now's the time to find that out while we're doing the pilot study, before it all goes out. So that was what I was explaining to them on the phone this morning, and I was very pleased to get off my probation that I didn't know I was on. And so they also asked me what had been going on in the last year. So I will give you a quick rundown, as I do with them. We've built the survey, so it is now that huge monster of a survey, which we will cut down, but it took some time to build, as you can imagine. We've got this great panel of experts, and we've got people from everywhere. If you go and have a look at the ebark.com link that I've got up there for you, that tells you all about the survey itself, and it also tells you about our panel of experts. And we've got some people you'll know on there from Facebook, I'm sure. There's some really, really interesting people, and they've been terrific. Some behaviourists, some vets, some horse trainers. We've got people from everywhere, some coaches, and they've all been through this survey before it went out, before the pilot went out, and they've given their feedback and have been so helpful. We've got some, you know, terrific, like world-class dressage riders and all sorts of people on there. You'd be interested to go and have a look. And it's been wonderful that they've been so keen to collaborate, because it's such an important project. And, you know, if we could have something like this, they've done this for dogs. So when you're on that link, ebark.com, go and have a look at CBARK, which is the canine equivalent. Or if you're a cat person, look at FEBARK, which is the feline equivalent, obviously. Now, those two surveys are already up and running. The CBARK is great. You know, I'm a dog person. I've done it for my Doberman and also for my Whippet. I found out my Whippet is very untrainable, even for a Whippet. But at the end of the survey, they will give you little feedback, and we want to have this at the end of eBark too, as soon as we've got it sort of up and running properly. They give you feedback, and you get a chart which shows you how your particular dog compares to other dogs of the same breed. So that's how I know Whippet, even for a Whippet, was very untrainable and quite anxious. And it's very interesting. So do go and do it and get that graph at the end, because you would love that. So that's something we want to have for eBark as well. So we've built the survey. We've got it up there. The other things that I've done, which I was discussing with them, I've just submitted my third paper. Now, the first two weren't for my PhD. The first one was Nosebands, which was published in 2016. The second one I did was about my honours project, which was about the engagement zone, and that was published last year. And I've just submitted a review paper on the round pen. It's actually called Cutting to the Chase, how round pen lunging and high-speed liberty work might compromise horse welfare. So that should be published in the Journal of Veterinary Behaviour very soon. I will let you know when it is, so you can go and read that. And I'm currently writing 2 more. I'm writing 2 presentations on the oral. I'm writing 2 papers on the oral presentations that I did at the International Society for Equitation Science last year, which was in Wagga in November. And I had 2. One was about EBARC. It was about the EBARC pilot study, so I'm currently writing that up now. And the other one was called It's All About the Sex, which was a great title for a paper when I was sitting here writing it, thinking, oh, it's terribly clever. Then when I was standing in front of a couple of hundred people at Wagga, and I got up, and behind me is the big thing, It's All About the Sex. I'm like, yeah, not such a clever title. Anyway, it'll be quite an interesting paper. That was an interesting survey. The survey wasn't done by me, but it was done a few years ago. And it's all about how we have these preconceived ideas about horses' behaviour and riders' ability. I'll let you know when it's out. But there's also on my website, candoequine.com, if you go along to the About Kate page, you'll be able to find both of those presentations. I've put them on a video for you, so you can go and watch them there if you're interested. Anyway, so that is about all I wanted to say today. I'm 1 year on, which is 1/3 of the way through my PhD, after which I'm going to have to insist that you all call me doctor. Maybe for a week anyway. So 1/3 of the way here, onwards and upwards, and I will see you tomorrow for Can Do Fitness. Bye.